regarding the Miami stuff, I'm going to quote from a tweet, right? That it's a tweet from you, December 15th. So it's like, can't believe that there's still a debate on tech Twitter, and I'm about to wade in. But Miami and Austin are great cities, but I suspect many who move there would be disappointed to find a lot of the same problems they sought to escape. Plus, they're like really, really hot.
Well, the summer in Austin and the summer in Miami, I just having lived decent amounts of time in both, they're serious stuff. But look, I think at the time when I tweeted that December, I think I was a little um, exhausted by how down people were on San Francisco and how up people were on Miami and Austin. I'm very excited about what I see, happening in Miami and Austin, and I think. I grew up in Kentucky. I love the idea of innovation ecosystems spreading across the US. But I do think, you know, generally in life, it's the case that to some extent the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And also, I think to some extent, when people look at something as the solution to all their problems, it's more complex than that. And I think I was reacting to people who, I think have some people have an attitude that SF is completely done and failed, and it's a broken city, and there's nothing to appreciate about SF, and that you know these places they're moving to are utopia. And there's definitely life is gray, right? It's not black and white. There's still a lot of beautiful things about the Bay Area and things I appreciate, certainly problems as well. And a ton of exciting things happening in these emerging ecosystems like Miami and Austin. And I'm actually very bullish on them. But I'd also say um, no place is perfect. So really, that was the tweet.
That's yeah, I agree. Look, like you, the only way to find peace is within yourself, right? It's not that
That's right.
all of the problems of your life will be solved because you've moved to Miami. But I must say though,
It's
not
pretty
seeing
nice.
homeless anymore or needles or human shit on my sidewalk, and I live right downtown, right, like right on Mission and Third by the Salesforce Tower, and but I lived everywhere in the city. I have lived in Pack Heights. I've lived in the Mission. I've lived in Presidio. I've lived in Soma, and I grew up lower middle class Brazil. My mom has been kidnapped twice. The shit I've seen in San Francisco, I've never seen anywhere else. It's just this absolute lack of care with humanity from the people that claim that they really care about the people. Uh,
Mhm.
so, I agree with you. There are still pockets of the city that are amazing. Including where you live and other aspects. It's like they're nice, they're safe, they're good, but it's just not it's not everywhere. And for the cost of living, for me at least, like I couldn't just see the return over equity was just going down, and frankly, like Austin for me was not a choice because of the
Mm.
fact that I invest in the U.S. and LATAM. And
Mhm.
I was just very tired of being so far away from the rest of the world, right? Working on Pacific time, San Francisco is very far from everywhere else. If you're doing global business versus Miami, you're a direct flight to almost everywhere in the world. It's kind of cool in that sense.
Mhm.
But 2 years ago, and we don't make this about Miami, but 2 years ago, I was in a previous relationship, and I spent like a week and a half to 2 weeks in Miami exploring houses with an ex girlfriend, and I left this place feeling like, oh, if I move here, I gotta pack like a Glock or like a Colt 45 so I can shoot myself the minute I land, because it was just the level of like superficiality and that whole orange Lamborghini, Chanel bag, plastic surgery vibe. I was like, how I mean, like we love to work, right? Like as investors and founders, we're addicted to the game. At least I am, and um, so I think the pandemic is what really made Miami a viable option to actually build
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
interesting, because you will never. It would be very difficult to compare Miami University or FIU with Berkeley or Stanford. Like let's just be honest. And then They're great universities, don't get me wrong, but they're at a different level in terms of their track record, in terms of building businesses, right? So, but with the fact that you can have hybrid teams or remote teams right now, a lot of different places are viable options. Basically, I think that that's very, very important. This is not about
Oh,
taxes, right?
it's totally,
It's
totally. I think the dispersion of talent, the rise of remote and distributed teams, the openness of different cities across the U.S. to trying to attract talent and reward talent and create opportunities. Like all of those are incredibly positive things, without a doubt. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out over the next 2 to 4 years. I think what's interesting is, in the Bay Area, we're now at a really low case count, and most people are somewhere between fully vaccinated or like line of sight to fully vaccinated. And um, I've started to do some meetings in person again, but it's definitely not what I think it would have been if we had gotten to this stage in some alternative universe 8 months ago. I think we would have been rushing back to the way things were, and I don't really see that happening here. It's interesting. My friends in New York, it feels like things are returning to
it's
kind
gonna
of a
be the
pre-pandemic
summer
world
of
a little bit.
love in New York.
Yeah, like everybody in New York's getting together, right? And having meetings in person, and they're back in the office. And I haven't really seen it happening like that in the Bay Area. And of course, yeah, Miami, it feels like it's you know um, happening more than ever, at least in our bubble. So it's
Oh,
going to be very interesting to
it's
see how it
amazing.
develops.
Yeah, I mean here I walk around. I'm living in Brickell, and then you walk around the neighborhood in the morning where everyone is doing their runs and walks, and you start bumping into other people, and you
Yeah.
just it's awesome. Like it's exactly how it used to be in SF, but in a different way because the sun is out, the weather is nicer, people are pretty, and you don't have just Stack you have a diverse group of people, and you can have a difference of opinion, and then there isn't a woke police that will try to like censor you. Like you can be, we can be sharing a meal and have a disagreement, and you know what? We're mature, civilized adults, and we'll continue to be friends, although we have differences of opinions in certain topics. And this is what was always brought me and attracted me to America, which was a place where I move in here with no money, no connections, and as long as you work hard and pay your taxes, you can do well for yourself. So um, I agree with you. Observing it should be interesting. All my SF friends that I've been talking to, they feel like, hey, there's still some sort of like I don't think depression is the right word, but it's more kind of like the return is very slow, and I don't know if it's because people are just so busy with Zoom, or if there's still quite a lot of fear instilled in their minds, and they're in this like toxic like media. I don't know. I honestly, but I still have a place in Palo Alto. I'll continue to be there once it's clear that you can go and spend a few days and meet people in person without having to ask 10 different questions and being weird to greet them and all that stuff. Like I'll be back in the Atman. We have an office in Palo Alto as well, so it's basically kind of like I'll be a frequent visitor, um, all the way until I can continue to pay taxes in Florida. Because
Tracking the days. Yeah.
yeah, you don't make the move because of taxes, but when you do the math, it's a very nice cherry on the top. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Um,
Like I've plenty of friends that have have made the move and have done the math. And I do feel like I have to say there's still a lot about the Bay Area that I love. So and I don't um, nothing you say that I vehemently disagree with. I am
yeah,
interested to see how it plays out over the next two years, because I think there is likely going to be. I mean, look, housing prices are still crazy, but rental prices are just down like 30%, and still are, and lots of, I think, problems that need to be solved. But I'm not a all hope is lost person. I feel like we might be reaching the breaking point where some of these challenges we do get some line of sight on improvement. So housing, like cost of living, I think being one. If people leave, like the cost of living goes down, right? So it's going to be an interesting next couple of years, what the future of work looks like, where talent concentrates, moves. But I say what I said earlier, which is, people um, pursuing, new places to live and building, and all this is positive. Like it's a good thing in the macro. Um, and I'm so excited to see what the rest of 2021 looks like. I mean, it obviously globally we still have massive reasons for concern, but in our in the US, there's a lot of reasons for optimism.
I agree. Well, it's the whole Buffett thing, never bet against America, right? And then, which I think it's fantastic. But